Yeah. I'm wearing my pajamas, but you just are jealous because you don't have moose and canoe and salmon on your pajamas. Hey, there's a goose. There's a fly fishing rod. This is an experience in pajamas. Eat your hearts out. Anyway, I have this sitting here, even though this is kind of an unboxing video about my new Gibson mandolin, which I cannot afford, but this will explain why. On the surface, from a financial viewpoint, buying this thing was kind of stupid. I'm gonna like rationalize it that it's an investment because I did get a good price on it. I checked around, and some of them are selling for twice as much. So, you know, that's it. I invested. Investment is good. This is my dad's guitar. This is a Gibson. A Gibson L50. He bought new in 1947. He had this guitar since he was a young pup. Too many strings. I can't play the guitar, and I'm unwilling to. There's 6 things, and it just looks like a sea of strings. I can deal in 4s. The bass, the violin, the viola, mandolin. Even though the mandolin has 8 strings, it's set in groups of 4, so or groups of 2, so there's 4. And these things confuse the hell out of me. Well, I'm not going to impress you with my guitar playing, but there was a question. There was a question in my mind that lasted about a minute. Is, do I sell this one to buy a Gibson mandolin? And the Better John came about, and it's like, heck no. I'm not going to sell this. This is a legacy. This is something that my dad played, and when I just even look at it, I remember all the fun times that I had playing with him as a youth. And Rob too, who's probably watching this, the banjo player at the time and guitar player and everything player really. I'm going to tell you a secret that I felt okay because in the shadow of Rob's musical virtuosity, I could play a violin at least better than him because of the bow. But I like this thing, and I'm thinking that yes, a person gets things passed along, maybe a little bit of money, maybe this, maybe that, but this is very special to me because this represents not only my pappy, it represents what they gave to me as far as enjoyment of music. There was always, you know, music in the house. He played, loved to play with me, and I have to give them credit. My mom and dad would not say anything or stop me if, like, for example, one time I bought a banjo and I would play all night long. I mean, all night long until morning, till the sun came up. Foggy Mountain Breakdown. And they never stopped me. They never stopped me. The first violin I bought was a $100, probably plywood, cheap, horrible thing, a horrible instrument from Grinnell's at Westwood Mall. And let me tell you, somebody learning how to play the violin, especially on a cheap one, it's torture. It's the worst thing to listen to. And yet, I could play all night. I could play anywhere, anytime. They never said anything because they appreciated it. On my mom's side, some of her brothers, 9 people and 9 kids in her family, they played barn dances, very musical. And they probably played on what I've just bought. Uncle Dewey, mandolin, Sam, guitar, and you know, they were very musical. In fact, in the family there's like a 1940-something Martin guitar floating around, but not on my side of the family. Nobody's playing it. It's just sitting in the attic, but you know, someday somebody will get it. So I'm going to set this here. I'm going to set this here, and I'm just going to remember all the fun times that I had playing with my pappy. He has a Gibson, now I have a Gibson. He had a 1947, I've got a 1920. I remember him telling me he bought a Gibson banjo mandolin, and the head got wet, and instead of just putting a new head on it, they threw it away. You know, that's the way it was back then. They didn't cost a lot, and so I don't know. Anyway, unboxing it from the Guitar Center. Let me shift this around here. I have to maintain my high production value. Not banging this thing around. Is it? I was kind of frightened buying a used mandolin from Guitar Center. I don't know. Reputation, it's a mandolin and it's called Guitar Center, who knows. And the box that it came in was crushed. It was beaten, and so it's like, oh my God, I hope it's insured. And after it warmed up, you don't just open them because of the cold shipping. I was pleasantly surprised that it came in an actual original case. This thing, if I can open it's kind of a trick. This smells old. You know that old smell that you have in an antique shop? So it came in the original case in really nice shape. +1 in the, or 1 in the plus column. Lifted the mandolin out, and the first thing I did is look at the action. How low are the strings? And it's like, holy cow. Not new strings, they'll always put new strings on it. But the action is very low. The frets, you look at the frets, and most people spend most of their time down here, and it can put impressions in the frets. Either this wasn't played a lot, or somebody put new frets on it, and I'm not seeing any chips whatsoever on the fingerboard around the frets, because when you pull them up to refret it, sometimes you chip. There's no chips, so these are probably original frets. The tuners are in nice shape, and I brought it out and the thing was in tune. That's a good sign. It doesn't mean it went through extreme temperature changes. Looking at the body, it's like, holy cow. It's got some play wear, but it doesn't have anywhere near the little crackles on the finish, because this is a nitrocellulose lacquer that the Gibson has. You know, he didn't treat that guitar like this pristine thing, you know, singing from the heavens. And so it traveled in its cheap chipboard case, you know, all year round. I'm sure he didn't like wait to bring it out after, you know, it arrived somewhere. Played it a lot in front of a lot of people, and so that has crackling on the finish. But this has a nice finish, and it looks to be all original. Now there's a question about, this is a 1920, when did it come about that they had an adjustable bridge there? But it was in the ballpark, and this is definitely an old Gibson bridge. It has the little tiny adjustment wheels on there. Everything is in nice shape, no cracks, absolutely no repairs ever done. Everything is tight. Minor crack on the binding right there, but no big deal. Original pick guard, good. The only thing that's missing is the tailpiece cover. And Gibson is the Harley-Davidson of instruments. And if you don't believe me, do an internet search for vintage Gibson tailpiece cover, and some of these things are selling for $200. Just a simple piece of like metal flat thing that says the Gibson on it. And the Gibson, sweet. A round hole, not F holes. Intonation, this thing is nice. I'm winding up playing it like this so more sound comes at me, but Fingers well? Sounds great. Nice, no buzzing. So let me wrap this up. Love it. I'm going to play just two simple songs. This is probably the very first song in my mandolin youth that I played with my pappy. Very first song. I'm going to play three very first songs, just in honor of Bernie. First thing I want to say is, interesting guy. You know, mathematical and physics and engineering, absolute genius. And he always played with a sock on the headstock. He said that like it kept the headstock from getting bashed, but I think it was just kind of luck. And even, you know, when Rob, remember when we'd play at the auditorium in Parkside, you know, there'd be 1,000 people out there. He still had the sock on there. And he wound up breaking one of the strings, and I thought it was funny, his sense of humor. Oh no, I just broke my G string. But that's that. Simple songs. Let's see if I hardly ever play them. What is that one? Well, let's see. And who can forget, he always wanted to play a Mother Maybelle song, the Carters, Wildwood Flower. Not used to cross picking. And so that's for you, Bernie. And how about a little shout out to my uncles who played the barn dances? Guess the question after all is why would I buy this? It's like, why wouldn't I? Because I'm feeling my family when I play this.